co-host on the myconsultant.ca show. So when I met Adrian, folks, this is kind of what happened. So we got along immediately because I mentioned both Star Wars and Spaceballs, and both times his eyes lit up.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it was like, yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah,
totally a thing, right? So and so I'll let you in. I think I told you this. I'll tell those people on the air. So in high school, when I was in high school, we actually did a very terrible low end budget version remake of Spaceballs.
Nice, like
yes.
right?
Oh, it was so fun. Dark. So the hero and the villain, this is how low budget it was. The hero and the villain was the same actor, right?
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, it was like one of those, but it was just. We all had some fun. It was ridiculous fun. I got beaten up on set. I was the narcissistic prince, and I was Tweedledum, not Tweedledee, but Tweedledum. Now you go figure this out. The same guy was not Tweedledee, the same guy was not Tweedledum, but the same guy was the hero and the villain. That egomaniacal bastard, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I really like it. Like Austin Powers is a good one where the hero and the villain is the same. And it just, I don't know. I think it makes it fun.
Oh, no, it makes it really silly, right? It makes it totally silly. And also, Dr. Evil is like my favorite all-time comedic villain.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, he's just undeniably dumb, but like he's oddly charming at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's just Mike Myers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike Myers in general, but it really worked with Dr. Evil.
It did.
Yes, it did. It did. But still, my favorite scene is like when he finds his son. Hey, Dad, I got a gun. We can just kill him, right? No, shush.
Stop talking. I mean, I think my favorite is when he's threatening like the Pentagon, and he's like, $1 million, and then the president's like, "That's stupid."
Like it's like, well, they did the joke both ways. Like he did like $100 million, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the $1 million. Sure. We'll write you a check right now, just cause.
Yeah. Sure, that'll buy like a house, maybe.
Oh, back then, $1 million got you a lot more than it does right this minute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Although $1 million still gets you a lot, it doesn't get you what it used to, right?
That's true.
Yeah, you can still buy a house for under $1 million. You can still buy. You can still buy a. You can be set for life in terms of the basic things you need and have them all paid off for under $1 million. You'll have nothing else, but yeah. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's just a tip for all like the young aspiring evil villains out there. Ask for more than $1 million.
Oh yeah, that's not just tip for supervillains; it's for superheroes too. Don't come cheap. Be a whore.
True.
Be a whore. Just be a whore, right? But go for the big money, right? Yeah. Or as my one comic book editor friend says, "Fuck you, pay me." Right? It's like
Yeah. Nope. Yep. That's really true.
Yeah, it's like we're not. No one's really that complicated at the end of the day, my friend. Right? We all want essentially the same thing. How we get there is different. But true. We all want essentially the same thing.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's a good point. I'm kind of learning that now because I'm just going into the work like field.
Yeah, you're starting in. So okay, so you're hosting a My Consult. Like we talked about this so I did an interview with Adrian on the myconsultant.ca show.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a little bit about his past as a host. Little bit.
Yeah.
And with but this is like this. Did you always want to like broadcast like the way you're doing? Like, is this something where you wanted to go, or is you got like another bigger, more super villainous master plan somewhere in their head?
I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I've always been interested in broadcasting in any presenting in any sense of the word. It's always been a hobby of mine to look into how movies are made, how shows are made, and just see how it's done from all angles, not just like from an acting perspective, but for writers, producers, and stuff. It's just really fascinating to me. So, um, would I say that it was my main goal after I graduated university from an English degree? No.
What do you
But
want to do? So what do you want to do?
that's a good question. I ask myself that every day in the mirror at 8 a.m. I'm kidding.
So what do you want to do today, Adrian?
So what do you want to do today, Adrian?
Go back to sleep, eat ice
Yeah, it
cream, and
usually
go back
starts
to
with
sleep.
me brushing my teeth, and then I was like, I usually go, let's brush my teeth, and then see where we go from there.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, I've always wanted to be a writer, like a novelist and stuff like that, and so I've been pursuing that dream, and it's gone in some interesting directions. I never I accidentally started this podcast. Like
How
I'm
do you
serious.
accidentally start a podcast?
So I've been interviewing people for 20 years.
Okay.
Okay, at this point, at that point it was 15 years, but I digress. I'm old. Shut up. Shh. Right? But the thing about it was, right? So I got the opportunity. Do you know who Robert J. Sawyer is?
No.
He is a science fiction author. He is one of
Okay.
the more well-known ones in today's era.
Okay.
Right. And so I got the opportunity to interview him because he was releasing a novel, and I had just gotten a cell phone. Okay. This is this 2015. I finally get a cell phone. I finally get to the modern age. Shut up, clouds. But anyways, so we go into a conference room. So instead of the way I used to do it was I would do the interview. I'd write it up. I'd send it to the people, make sure I didn't misquote them in any way, shape, or form. Right. Trust is always an important thing when you do an interview. So but now I had a phone. I could transcribe it. I mean, I'm still going to send it over to them, but I'm not. But I know I'm going to be accurate. I don't have to think about that shit no more.
Right. Yeah.
So I interviewed Robert J. Sawyer in a conference in Calgary, and when we come out, I forget who asked him. I still can't. I think it was Arlene Martins. Hey, JTDGHD35. Welcome to the show. We're talking about how I accidentally started a podcast right this minute. Right. So what ended up happening was we come out and he goes, well, what'd you do? Rob goes, oh, I'm just had Josh interview me for his podcast. I did not have a podcast at that moment in time.
I see.
I was about to correct him, but something in my head just kind of clicked. Podcasts? I never thought about doing a podcast. Could I do a podcast?
I guess I could do a podcast.
yeah, pretty much. That was pretty much my head. That was my head. Yeah. That was my headspace, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I ended up getting people to come for interviews, right? And I've never had a problem getting an interview, ever. I am 5 days a week doing this show now. I still don't have problems getting an interview, right?
That's
ever, right? So it's always something I've been meant to do, and yeah, and then if you look at the number above you, you're episode 755. So I mean, yeah. I can't say I'm accidentally doing it, but I accidentally started doing it. It's like one of those things I stumbled into. I think life has this tendency. I tend to think okay, when you're not sure what you're doing, you do what most of us do. You throw the spaghetti at the wall and you try to figure out what sticks. What I find with the spaghetti though is it's not that different than the person throwing it, right? That's the thing. It's just figuring out who the fuck you are, and that's if you can figure that out now, you will be farther ahead than I was at your age.
I mean, I'm on my way there. I think I'm figuring out some pretty big stuff about myself now, so that's nice.
That's nice. You're figuring out the big stuff.
The big stuff.
The big stuff. Okay, so what's a big thing for Adrian?
The big thing for Adrian is just what I don't know, what makes me happy, what makes me get up in the morning. And, I grew up in a family where, academic achievement was the most important thing. It didn't really matter, whether or not you were passionate per se about what you were studying. But, I've always been a very passionate person. I was always the loudest kid, Uh, and I was always the kid who, like kind of got in trouble for arguing with too many people. um, and you know, it's never really been something that I struggled with, but it was more finding out where that passion comes from and why. Um, and so going to school for English, because yeah, I've always loved writing. I've always loved stories. The reason why I appreciate Spaceballs specifically is because it's a spoof out of one of the most iconic pieces of media ever, and like I've actually never watched the original Star Wars, if you can believe it. But I got all the jokes in Spaceballs even when I was a kid, and I think it was because, that's just how good Star Wars is because even if you're not actually a person who's like seen it or grown up with it, you can watch a spoof of it and be like, yeah, I know who that is. That's Darth
Mm-hmm.
Vader. Like that's Darth Vader's like spoof. So that kind of writing, like just transcending time, generations, and also just like being familiar with the media is so cool to me. I don't know. I just really like it.
No,
So
it's all good.
yeah.
I'm not knocking you for anything on this, right?
Yeah.
All right. How to put this? We all have things we miss. Like I have deliberately become uncool. I don't think I ever was cool, to be perfectly honest with you, but I have become even deliberately more uncool. I'm gonna. All right. You just only have time. You only have time for so much stuff to look at, to see. You only have so much time, and that's it. And we all got shit to do. Like at some point, it's just like, I mean, the last modern television show I've watched was the Harley Quinn cartoon, right?
I've
Which I
heard
don't know.
that's good. No,
It
I
is
know
quite
I
good.
know of it, yeah.
It is quite good. I won't say it's bad at all. You look at all the villains a little differently as a result, because Harley's a bit. She's not a villain per se, but she's not exactly a hero either. She's kind
She's
of in
an
her.
anti-hero.
Yeah, I'm not even sure she's an anti-hero exactly. I think basically she got messed up. She met the wrong guy at the wrong time, and it messed her
Mhm.
up. And ever since then, she's like, again, she just tries to get her life back together. But when your ex-boyfriend's the Joker, you're never going to be quite the same again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
right.
kind of what happens, yeah.
Yeah, your ex-boyfriend's the
The clown prince of crime.
yeah, who you don't know if he's coming, going left, right, and you dated that and survived. Somehow you survived.
Right.
Right? Right. So that's the thing, right? And you look at so I don't know if anti-hero is quite right, because I don't think anti-heroes, in my opinion, they're like Robin Hood's an anti-hero. But the reason why Robin Hood's an anti-hero is because Robin Hood is exploring the injustices of his time.
Mhm.
I don't think Harley is about necessarily the injustices of her time. I think she's much more about trying to be the best person she possibly can be. I don't think that makes her. I don't think it necessarily makes her a hero, but she's not a villain either. She actually has a heart. She's just like most of us. There are certain rules in life we look at and we go, "That's nice." We all have that a little bit in us too,
Yeah.
right?
Like, huh. I'm just
Right.
gonna ignore that now.
Yeah, you're like, I am not gonna. It's like I don't know what you're talking about.
Just
You're like, yeah. It's like he's on to us, man. We gotta go get his ass. No, it's all,
yeah.
all right. It's all good. No, it's again, human beings are human beings. Like we all have our own ideas of what we think is right, what we think is wrong. We're not so different that I think the core values aren't that different. But again, going back to something I said, it's how we get to those points,
Yeah.
right? Right. That's what's different. So, like I said, like you and I don't see the world the exact same way, but I think that's a wonderful thing, because you see things I don't. I see things you don't. We can learn from each other
Yeah.
if we're willing to listen, right?
Yeah. That's true. um I guess then the thing is trying to figure out what kind of main character you want to be in your life.
I try to be the hero. Sometimes I'm the villain. I think one of the hardest things I think we have to acknowledge about ourselves, there are things about ourselves we don't like about ourselves because we know we could be better.
Yeah.
We just could be better. And what we often don't realize, though, at the same time, though, is those very flaws that help make you who you are. It helps make you see the world for who you are. There's good that comes from it too. So, I mean, you have to be willing to kind of, how do I put this? You have to understand. And also now as you get to when you get to my age, you realize that some of the things, no matter how hard you work at them, won't change. Right? Just like there are things about you that are flawed. Now, you can still work at them. You can still grow. I'm not saying you never stop growing. But I think the thing is you have to accept the fact that in some situations you're the villain of the story. You just are. And own that bad guy. But at the same time, in other situations, those very qualities that might make you the bad guy in this one situation might make you the good guy in another one. Right? It's all in where we are and how we go.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
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 I guess my way of kind of doing that is as I've mentioned before, is I've done drag. And my drag persona is kind of a bad guy because he's basically everything that I'm not really in my everyday life. He's always wearing black and a very tough person and very intimidating and scary. And I'm definitely not that. But it's just what kind of happens when I was trying to perform in a way. And I kind of just stuck with it, and it worked. So
well,
yeah.
You're going back to what I said earlier. I have aggressive sides. I have aggressive sides. I have angry sides. I have sad sides. I have, really happy sides. I have euphoric sides, right? Right. We have this tendency, I think, as a culture today to look at those things inside ourselves and go, well, this is a good thing or a bad thing, and I should let myself feel this or let myself not feel that. The feelings are still there. You got to find a way to bring them out. So for you, when you go on when you perform in drag, it's like those parts of yourself that whether it's conscious or not, I don't know. I'm not. Again, you know the answer to that better than I do.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not going to psychoanalyze me.
Oh no, I read people very well. I've done a lot of these interviews. I usually get a good read on people, never perfectly, but right. And also, in all fairness, I don't want to step on any lines too. Some things are private for a reason, right? Right. Yeah. So some things are private for a reason. I've learned that lesson the hard way. So what I was going to say though is the fact that in your case, yes, I can usually figure someone out pretty good. I can usually figure them out. Again, it's about. That's Maddie. This is Madeline Dale, author. Madeline Dale, this is Adrian Quijano. I got his name right.
Yeah. You got it.
The first 2 weeks I was working with an agent. I could not get his last name right. To save is my life. I couldn't do it.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. Madeline Dale is a romance author. She's and also fantasy paranormal. She's really, really good. Awesome human being as well. She's coming on my show Friday to draw with me, so it's gonna be kind of fun.
Awesome. That's
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So anyway, what I'm saying though is we all have those parts of ourselves. I'm not gonna say again. Not saying necessarily you don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing publicly in a particular setting. But when you're in drag, you don't need no fucking permission. Fuck that. I'm gonna let it all out.
That's true.
And when you're done, right? That's it, right? It's that permission to go out and just do that. You know, how old are you again? I just need to ask that.
23.
So the older you get, the less you're going to want permission. I'm going to let you know that up front. You're eventually just going to say, fuck it. There's going to come a point in your life you're just going to say, I don't care. For whatever.
Me.
Yeah, I'm going to be myself, incomplete. Take me or leave me. Love me or don't. Fuck it. I ain't going to be happy.
Right.
But figuring out what those things are, like figuring out, taking that time to experiment with who you are and kind of who you want to be, that's not necessarily a bad thing either. It's just learning that these things are there and these things are going to be a part of they're going to be a part of you.
Yeah.
And there's good and bad with all of that.
Right.
But if you can accept that, if you can accept all those things, right, you will be able to look at the person in the mirror and like what you see.
That's true. I mean, I kind of hit the fuck it button a couple years ago in first year university because you know, I moved away from home. I lived in dorms and I lived with a bunch of really cool people who were all like really nice and like very very accepting of a lot of things that I am, and it made me realize, like, you know, I'm an adult. I can make my own decisions. I'm gonna cut my hair because, you know, anyone who's known me in my adult life, I've always had this short hair. But before, like, for the first like 19, 18 years of my life, my hair was long. Like, it was like up till here. And one day I was just bored. I think I was done midterms, and I was just like, I'm gonna go get my hair cut. I didn't consult anybody. I didn't talk to my best friend. I didn't tell my brother. I didn't tell my parents, which they, you know, they had, you know, they had some words to say, but it was over Zoom, so it didn't matter because I could just hang up if it got too bad, or just be like, "Oh, I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Bye."
The positives of the pandemic, you can selective hearing on Zoom. That button,
Exactly.
there's a button that can turn you off. Click.
Yep.
Right? So.
Yep. It was nice. And they were in a completely different city, so I was like, haha. I can get in trouble, but not really.
Yeah, well, going back to something I say, you're an adult.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's not really much they can say. I mean,
that's true.
You always want your parents to be proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's something I think if every kid is honest with themselves,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Whatever else they are in life,
mm-hmm.
you want the parents to be proud of them. Like that's it. Like I don't think again, a universal thing, right?
Yeah.
But again, we live in a different world. Like you're. I imagine I'm going to guess that your parents were kind of like came from either another country or from a stricter part of the world where things are a little bit more had a certain traditional set to it.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up Roman Catholic, so if you know anything about Roman Catholics, we don't really have to say anything more about that. But the long and the short of it is, I wasn't allowed to watch certain TV shows because they didn't want me to learn about kissing too early. Even though that I watched Austin Powers when I was like 4. I don't know. Like, I'm not allowed to watch iCarly, but I was able to watch Austin Powers when I was 4. Granted, I couldn't speak or understand English, so I was really just watching, just being like, cool, pretty.
And Maddie is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Right.
I really like that. I think.
Yeah. No. You. At the end of, like, again, we all want our parents' approval. Like something I say, we all want it, but that's not always possible. And also, I mean, you're your own person. Like, there's only one Adrian Quijano. That's you, right?
That's true.
So you come around once. So, and the person that has to live with Adrian Quijano is you.
That's
It's like
true.
The person that has to live with Joshua Pentalaresco is me. I mean, like just all like, could you just imagine living with me all the dark helmet jokes we've done so far in our very short period of time?
Yeah.
I probably would have driven you to drink already. He's like, hey, no, not another fucking dark helmet joke, right? Right. But the point is, right, you have to find that peace and acceptance with yourself. And to do that means you got to be honest about who you are and who you're not. And I think that's a hard, like, what do you want? Like, I don't know how big. Were you a Babylon 5 fan at all?
No.
Oh, okay. So, um, old school science fiction show, right?
Okay.
Old school science fiction show. So the two big like ancient races in there had like two very big questions. The shadows, the what appears to be for most of the series, the bad guys of the show go, "What do you want?" And the Vorlons would ask, "Who are you?" Right, and not like your name, not like who are you? Like who do you like what do you see when you look out there? What is that? Right? And what do you want? Like what like I always generally when I talk to people, I always ask what do you want to do? Because to me, it tells me a lot about where you want to go. It gives me a big insight into what your passions are, who you are. I don't usually ask who are you because it sounds like a vaguer question, but there's a lot more to that question. Who are you? Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot. It's a deeper question. It takes a lot more time to process it. So if I ask someone that question, then most times they'll give me a name, and that might be the best they can do. What do you want is a little, again, also deeper than it looks, but it's usually a little easier to answer, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I think they're both tips of the icebergs. Two separate icebergs. Part of them is the brain, the mind, the logical part of the person, and then the other one is the heart, basically.
Yeah.
So it matters which one you want to know first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fair. That's a fair way of looking at that.
Yeah.
I bring it up like this because like I usually gauge people when I meet them by what they want. Usually, that's usually the first real step I have in figuring a person out, right? And then I'm sorry, it's part of my observational kind of stuff. Once I figure that kind of stuff out, then it's like okay, I can maybe help you, or maybe I get an idea kind of where you're coming from, because I want to understand you as much as possible, right? Right. Even if at the end we don't agree with what the best ice cream flavor in the world is, I can still like you for who you are. You know what I mean? Like there's always going to be some differences, but we're more alike than we're different. And there's no point in hating you for a particular belief or a particular, because honestly, you know, we're more the same than different. If I hate you, there's probably a part of me that I hate as well.
Yeah, I think learning about how like usually you hate a certain part of a person that you see yourself doing, that kind of really contextualized a lot of the things that I would feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fair.
Yeah.
It's fair. It's fair. So, okay, so you were fascinated with writing, like you said this earlier. So, novel writing, comic book writing, movie. I see you as someone that would really enjoy making a movie. I may be wrong on that, but I could actually see you one day. I'll see you in like 10 years. You'll give me give me a shout on the phone. What the fuck did you make me do doing this? I can't sleep. These actors are assholes. Why did you make me do this?
I'm writing now. It's 3 a.m.
Yeah. And then I'll be like, do you love it? Yes. Why? What's wrong with me? I don't get it. I don't fucking get it.
I mean, I think all writers have some level of sadistic nature in them because, you know, writing is a beautiful art form, but also it takes so much out of you. It's so much. It's like, you know, you can't really you have to be honest all the time. Even if you're writing something that's not necessarily like your experience, it's still something that comes from your brain. So you still have to like, you know, piece it together. The types of writing that I like writing poetry and short stories. I'm also working on a novel right now. I've been working on it for the past couple years. It's the longest running writing project I've been a part of, which is nice. Because as someone who probably has ADHD, paying attention to one thing for more than like an hour is hard. But this book, you know, I've always wanted to write a book ever since I learned what a book was, um, because I just felt like they were the most like magical things ever because they could take you anywhere, anytime, any place. And, I wanted to do that too. And I wanted to do that for someone else. Not just me, because ever since I was a kid, I would tell myself these stories. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maddie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, it's sweet. And so okay, so this is gonna sound like a really terrible thing, but like writing, like books are like the greatest drugs ever. Think about it. You smell it, you inhale it, you look into it, and you're immediately some other world. You're not even looking anymore. You're
yeah,
basically hallucinating an experience, is what you're doing.
exactly. And it's so weird, but it's so cool. And I don't know. I think that sums up being a human.
Well, it's the empathy. Like we want to feel. Like
Mhm.
I mean, we sometimes try to numb ourselves to these things, but we really just want to feel. I want to go through an experience. I want to go, oh my God, this was the most amazing thing in my life. Or read a book that makes you cry. Read a book that makes you angry. Not angry because the book makes no fucking sense and you ruined this ending I've been building for. Like, don't want that. I want, oh my God, I love that hero in that like one moment there. It was just so beautiful. Yeah, other it's like that villain's such a bastard. I want to just see, I want to punch him in the face. Right.
Yeah.
And then another point's like, that was one of the most beautiful things I ever seen. Why am I crying? You're
Yeah.
crying.
Exactly.
Shut up, right? That's what you want. Like the best stories, like okay, I'm a big Dark Tower guy, Stephen King's Dark Tower.
Nice.
Book 7 made me cry like a fucking baby. It did. I cried at the very end. It was one that I had 3 different like sets of tears in that in there. It's like so did you read it?
No, but I know it. I know the story.
Yeah, you know the story.
Yeah.
So when Jake died, I was like, because he like you're like tears. Then he gets to the tower, different kind of tears. Like, oh my God, he did it. He
Yeah.
fucking did it. And when you get to the top of the tower, oh, you bastard. You fucking bastard. Right?
Yeah.
That's right. And I went through all of that. It was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had as a reader. Because it was just like, that's what I want to do. That's what every author should want to do. Now, again, different genres, different feelings, right?
Mhm.
Something
Yeah.
like in the romance genre, maybe I want to give a guy reading it a hard on, or maybe I want to, or maybe I want to have those romantic feelings somewhere in there, like you can feel like these people love each other, and you want to be part of that world and that dream.
Yeah.
And that's a very how do I put this? That's the goal. It's I mean, even when we were working on the show, right? I mean, the feeling that I was going for on my end was this. Yeah, we want to educate people, but I want it to be fun, because if it's fun, guess what? People are going to want to come to Canada, because that's like, hey, I'm going to have a good time here. It's a really simple thing, but it's a feeling you want to capture. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I think one of the things that I really appreciated, especially growing up, reading books and watching movies, was, as more writers who were like people of color and like queer and trans started sharing their books and stories, and it started to become more popular. I became more bold and I started reading them, and
Mhm.
that was part of what helped me realize that I was like them, and I didn't realize that I was in all the books that I was reading as a kid. I would kind of like shape myself to be a part of that story. But in these stories, I didn't have to shape myself. I was already a part of that story. And I felt like seen. It was nice. And part of why I like to write poetry and write stories and maybe one day write a movie is because I want to help other people feel seen. Because feeling seen is one of the like best stepping stones a person can make to, you know, start empowering themselves and being like, yeah, you know what? I don't have to ask for permission because I am my own person and I can do this by myself. Thanks, Maddie. Maddie's great.
Maddie is awesome. Maddie
Yeah.
is freaking awesome. She's, like I said, she's coming to draw with me. I think I made her a fan because I'm just my usual obnoxious self. But like I said, like I said, it's kind of like, who are you reading? I'm just curious. Was it like for me, like the earliest stuff with the LGBTQ and some of those things where Ursula Le Guin's Left Hand of Darkness. I don't know if you read that one or not, or maybe something more contemporary.
Yeah. So basically this book that like really got me started on the, I guess, slice of life romance, like becoming who you are genre. I don't know what it's called. I guess like coming of age. It's called the book's called Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. It is
I've seen that. I've seen that one. I've seen that one. Yes,
it's a beautiful
current
book. It's so good. It's beautiful.
Yes.
And I read it when I was in grade like 11, and it blew my mind because that was around the time that I started figuring things out. And after I read it, it's basically about a young teenage boy who's Mexican and growing up in the 80s in New Mexico, and he's basically just growing up and learning about himself and his family and like what it means to be a man to him because he doesn't really know. And he becomes friends with a guy named Dante, and they, you know, bond over how both of their parents named them after philosophers.
Philosophers or writers. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, while Dante feels like he suits his name, Aristotle doesn't because he's never really been a big brain thinker man. Like, he's kind of more of a strong silent type. So he doesn't understand why he was named Aristotle. And basically, like, it's just about these two kids, like, falling for each other, but also learning about who they are, just, like, as people. Mm-hmm. And reading it as a young kid, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. This is so cool. Because, like, I don't know, I've always loved love. I love love stories. But this was the first queer love story that I actually, like, read and experienced. And I was just like, wow, this feels really nice. I love this feeling of being seen. I want to feel that, like, all the time. Basically.
No, it's okay. I've seen it. It's a little, again, I'm deliberately uncool, Adrian. I haven't read too many more recent stuff. The first time, okay, this is how old I am. The first time I read anything with any kind of reference to homosexual stuff was Robert Heinlein's future history novels. Like, it's those are 70s. Those are like 70s books. I read those in high school. I did not, at 15 years old, I do not think I need to know what a Texas Star is. If people, and right, but I learned because I didn't know what I was getting into. Right, Heinlein is an interesting one because post Stranger in Strange Land is very different literature than pre Stranger in Strange Land. Right. This was the guy. So if you read anything pre Stranger in Strange Land, it's his. This is stuff he wrote for kids primarily. These like the school textbook kind of stuff. And there's some of those books are really good, but the free love movement was a big thing in the 60s and 70s, right? And so he wrote, like, so the second, like, towards the end of his life, a lot of that stuff was in his novels. So I learned so much about. It's before my time too, but I was into like a big science fiction kick when I was 15, so I was getting everything I had got my hands on. That was like, oh wow. And then something more modern, although it's still before Adrian's time, is like Mercedes Lackey did openly queer relationships. Tanya Huff, another author, did openly ones, and there's a few other ones. Like, there's a few other ones here and there that have definitely dabbled with it. It has become a more common thing to see. It's not everywhere, but it is a lot more common to see now
Definitely,
than
yes.
than it's ever been.
Mm.
So I mean, it's there. It's definitely in terms of literature, at least it's come a long way that way. So
Definitely, yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So, but I'm not cool. It did look like something on the list to me to read. I do read like I do like good young adult yarns. So, but
It's
that's
really
just
good.
me.
It's
Yeah.
funny and weird and cute. Yeah.
Yeah. You like it. I can tell. I can
Yeah.
totally
Oh,
tell.
I love it.
Yeah. Uh, so then okay, so you went to English lit. This is I'm assuming this is the pre-Dante stuff. So what were the books that really got you into it? Was it just that one, or was there other ones?
I mean, so okay. Basically, I started university 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually didn't start in English literature. I started in psychology.
Mm.
Because I thought I had wanted to be a doctor for some reason.
For
I
some
think
reason, I wanted.
for some reason, I don't
I
know.
have a theory. I have a
I
theory as
got
to
it
why
in
you
my
went
head
that way.
that I should do that. um,
Just real quick before you finish your story, and Maddie, don't worry. You'll start talking to clouds like I do, and then you'll realize you are old. You just won't care. So okay.
you are
Sorry.
valid, Maddie.
Yeah.
um, yeah. I started in psychology because I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and then I did like half a year of it, and I was like, huh, fuck
Fuck
that.
this.
So, so I was like, what do I actually like to do? What I just sat down and I was just like, what do I actually like to do? Like in my spare time when no one's looking and I'm just by myself. What is it actually that I want to do? So it was reading, it was writing, and it's always been reading and writing. So I switched into it, didn't look back, and now I have a degree in it, which is really cool. Some of the books that I read that really like shaped my experience in it was there. So there's this Canadian author named David Cheriandi, and he is amazing. He's a great writer. But essentially, I took this Canadian literature course because I had to. But I stayed because I wanted to. Because
Yes.
I was like, Canadian literature, like, what is this gonna be? Like, I don't know. I don't know what Canadian literature. Margaret Atwood, like, is that it? And then,
she's a great poet, by the way.
she
I don't know if
is. No, she
she's
is.
actually
She's
a
a
great
great
poet.
poet, and like,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with a little Margaret Atwood for sure. But I didn't realize that my prof was going to go into the details of like Canadian literature being so different than British and American because it's Canadian, because there's not just, the settlers who came here, but there's also the immigrants, the folks who are native, um, and that all makes Canadian literature. And that's what makes Canadian literature unique from everything else. And that made me feel so cool to be a part of it in some way. Um, and specifically reading David Cheriandi, he's a black writer who grew up in Scarborough, and he wrote a book called Brother, that was kind of based around his life as a black, like, Indo Canadian man in Scarborough, with his growing up with his brother. And I grew up in Oakville, and I'm Filipino. Um, but the stories that he was sharing and the things that he was feeling as a kid were really spoke to me, and that probably was the first time that I felt like I was Canadian too. even though I was born here even though I was born here, I never really felt a part of everything. I kind of just felt like I was brought here because I had to be. But
Okay.
like,
I'm just here. Fuck it.
I don't know. I was
Yeah.
born here, sure. But yeah, I don't know. Hearing his story and seeing how it was similar, even though he's from his family's from Trinidad, my family's from the Philippines. They're from different parts of the world, and yet, you know,
Some of the same
yeah,
things, some of the
yeah,
exact same feelings. Yeah,
yeah, it's cool.
yeah,
Again, it was like feeling seen, which is something that I like to feel.
yeah. Everybody does, right?
Yeah,
I
everyone
mean,
wants
that's the
to be.
goal. Like,
Yeah.
so when you make your movie someday, and you cursing my name every single time, fuck that Josh guy. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be like, right? Then you'll be like, but yeah, I mean that's the goal. Like you want to feel like if you feel something, this is true of writing, this is true of any kind of storytelling. If you feel something, right, the audience will feel something.
Right.
And if you don't, you won't. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It just that's just how it goes. And I think the hardest challenge when I was younger, now that I'm older and wiser than that bullshit, it's a little easier sometimes I still screw this up. Is being honest about it's about getting those feelings honestly on the page.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we like the biggest challenge is you get so caught up in your head about what you think will be good. Right. And honestly, sometimes I think the best way to do it is like, what do you feel here? Get that down. We can polish it later.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the best thing that gets you writing is writing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And as someone who kind of grew up a perfectionist, that's hard to accept, but also is really what I've done in order to get myself any pages down.
I stamped out perfection in my life. I stamped it out. I had a. This is my wonderful. This might be like the biggest thought on the show. Brace yourself. I might actually sound smart. I had a really wonderful thought one day, and it was this: I wouldn't want to be perfect because if I was perfect, I would stop changing. But the thing is, the reason going back to going full circle to our whole flaws, likes, and dislikes, we do have the ability. We can't change them all, but we can change a lot of them. Given enough time and effort and energy, we can do it, right? And when we do those things, and when we do make those changes, we become something else.
Right.
And I had this wonderful thought, like when I was thinking, it's not about why would God make an imperfect world? I don't know if you believe in God or not. I do. I don't necessarily believe in the Catholic guilt in the name of the Father, Son, I don't believe in necessarily the guilt aspect of that. I do believe there's a God in that, but I don't necessarily believe in the religious practice of how the Catholic Church does it. And but the thing about it is what I've learned was, God didn't make it perfect because it would always change. Every day would be different, whether it's the sunrise or to you. So art is the same way. You never want to make a perfect piece. You want to make a piece that's better than hopefully what you did before, but you don't want to make a perfect piece. Instead, you just try, can you do it better than the last time? Can you make it as good as you can? And have the breath to walk away so that years later, when I look at my stuff, I tend to cringe so I'm like, oh, what was I doing? I have those moments. We all do because we get better and we can see ourselves in a different light.
Yeah,
we do have the cringing will never stop. That's the bad news. But the good news is you'll come to the realization that who you are now is the result of that very brave person that did the best they could.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's and if you can see that progression, you done good. That's that's it. And that's it. Like that's all there is to it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I definitely think the younger versions of myself, no matter how cringy and how much they wanted to be emo, they were yeah. But
okay, I want to bring something up afterwards, but yeah, okay, we'll let you finish your thought because I have a pleasant thought. Go for it.
I mean, like I'm just gonna say, I appreciate the hard work that I've put into myself, and I'm definitely a lot happier than I think I've ever really been past couple years. Weirdly, I know we've been living through kind of a, time.
Yeah.
But
You know,
also, you know, like personally, like you know, there's been a lot of things that have happened for me that are great and, you know, have greatly impacted my life, and that's really nice.
okay. Oh, okay. So this is my second apocalypse. I had a personal apocalypse in 2008, 2009. So I had a
Mhm.
personal one. It wasn't the end. It wasn't the end of the world. It was the end of my world as I knew it. And I had to kind of come to terms with some things. It's not the circumstances you find yourselves in. Sometimes it's what you do with it, right?
Mhm.
I do think for a lot of people, 2020 was a good time, right? It was a weird time. I don't think anybody would argue, right? Right. And overall, yeah, it was kind of shit. But at the
Yeah.
same time, right? At the same time, that didn't mean good things didn't happen in 2020
Mhm.
or good things didn't happen in 2021. And while we're going to that weird transition of it's not a pandemic really anymore to where we go from here, and that's kind of where we're at. And I'm of the conviction that my leaders are on special drugs and they're not sharing. But besides all that,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I
Yeah,
live in Ontario, and you know,
yeah, I know. I
the
used to live.
Ford is a person. Boy, he sure is a person. Uh,
I lived in Windsor up until like 5 months ago, Windsor, Ontario.
Mhm.
So yeah, I got the watch Doug Ford in action, and yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, will digress. It's one of those, and it's not just it's not just. I think they're all mad. Trudeau's mad. I think they're all Singh's mad. I think they're all mad. I've come to like something about this time has made me realize that again, bigger issue, another day. Our leadership has no integrity. Any level you want to look at it. And that's a huge problem. And that's something that down the road, if we don't fix it, will be a real problem. But I digress. That's not really that's not really where I want to go.
yeah.
Um, what I will say is, yeah, a lot of good does come from bad things too. There's good that comes from it, and if you became who you are, and if you are happier than who you are, it's okay to say it was a good time for you,
Mhm.
right? Even if it was weird, like a
Yeah,
little weird, right?
yeah,
Right, right. That's just the way it is.
yeah,
It's a different world. Like I said, it'll be a weird little amalgamation of weird. I think for the rest of the year, but I think whatever normal looks like in 2023 will probably be a lot different than even what it is right now. So, I
yes,
mean, life changes. So,
yes.
what?
I've come to
Yeah.
embrace that, and also I think something that's helped me embrace the fact that life always changes is just having the right people around
Mhm.
to, you know, because like honestly, you know, I wouldn't have really done half of the things that I've done or gotten through most of my bad days without like my friends and like my partner and you know, my brother and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I'm a people person. I don't know if
Yes,
you
you are.
can tell, but like, you know, at the end of the day, it's really those core folks that I need because, you know, you can have a million friends, but like having your family basically is I think for me one of the most important things.
No, it really is. All
Yeah.
right. So I got now that I'll say like good things, bad things. Like I'm no longer part of the same show you're on anymore. So I do have like two small things. I did wish we did kind of do a headline news segment because I would have loved to play with your personality a little bit on the air, a little bit more. Um, we didn't get like for those people watching listening, we didn't get to work together very long, like
No.
on
Yeah.
air.
Hmm.
Right, just we didn't. It was just one of those situations where I was going and Adrian was coming, and so I didn't. It made very little sense for me to work with him on the air, by and large. But I would have liked to have done it once because I think you have a great. I've said this to you off the air, like in the emails. You have an amazing person, like a very sweet, amazing, like charismatic personality.
Thank you.
Right? You do. You really do. my hope with the show going forward, as you keep finding your footing more and more, you let more of that out. Because why I think the show was so good with me and Sarah, or Sarah and myself, want to be grammatically correct here. We got to put out our personalities in a lot of different spots, right? But we knew what we couldn't say, what we weren't, but we generally have a really good feel of the personality. When I know you're just starting, you're just taking the helm and figuring shit out, but you cracked me up so hard in some of the video edits. You cracked me up so hard. It's like, please bring that charm like that to the air.
Yeah.
Because I could not help but smile. I'm pretty sure Maddie will will say the same thing, in the sense that she's smiling while watching this interview, right? Because again, you're a sweet person and you're good. Like, people dig ya. This is awesome, and the more you bring this out, the more good things will come your way.
That's nice to hear. Thank you. Oh, man.
See?
Yeah. Even I mean, Olivier, the editing, he said, he was like, you make me laugh.
Because you have there is something about, like, I knew, like I knew you'd make him laugh too. Like for the Olivier and me have saw the show very similar. Way better. I'll give him this. He's way better than me in production, but in terms of the philosophy of the show, like, we're not that different. And every time I edited your footage, just like you at some point, but like 4 or 5 minutes in, I'd be like busting, like, okay, this is awesome. And I mean, like, it was great. You are so naturally entertaining. And I just when you, like I said, straight up, I realize, again, there are some limitations with the show. I'm very well aware of them. Right. But the more you're you, because if you make us laugh, you make the director of films laugh, and you're making me laugh, you will charm the audience the same way. And I'm just saying that, like legit, like, you do have that ability to do that, and you should. And also, for our other co-host, Miss Sarah, Sarah's got a pretty funny sense of humor herself.
She does. Yeah,
she does.
She's funny.
But yeah, she is. Like, I don't know if you saw the last episode that, like, we were on the air together. The last scene, did you see what I did put at the last scene?
Yeah.
Right? Like, the last scene was her putting the glasses on the camera. I was just like, okay, I have to put that on there. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So you doing what you're doing will encourage her, and your character, like, your personality is warmer than mine, and that warmness is infectious. And honestly, I think you're, like, again, as much as I wish I could have seen where the show would have gone under my watch, I would have, right? I do know this: you and Sarah on the air could be more infectious and a lot more personable together. Just let this come out on the air, and you will. No, I'm serious. Like, you'll, like, it will, like, the graphics and the production are not as important as the two of you.
Right.
And if you are the best version of yourself, which I think is the little silly, take himself too seriously. I am so sorry. Doesn't take him too seriously, has a good time, goes in there with the intention to have a good time, I think it would do the show, and also yourself, whatever you choose to do in life. You have that approach, you will always kick ass.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think honestly, it's gotten to a point now where it's hard not to be myself.
Yes.
It's like, definitely when I was a teenager, I would try to kind of, tone down a lot of this because it was loud, and it would make me stand out. And, like, being a teenager in a Catholic school, that's scary.
Well, Catholic schools are an interesting hypocrisy.
Oh yeah.
They're an interesting hypocrisy.
Yep.
The school uniforms are like the absolute like worst things possible in some ways. It's like, oh, somebody had an evil sense of humor designing those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's just yeah, I knew some friends, and honestly, the Catholic schools probably did more shadier shit than the public schools did.
Oh
All
yeah.
right.
Catholic
Yeah.
school kids turn out weird.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah.
So fun story, and then we'll get to the point where we're wrapping up the interview here. I got the opportunity to work with one of my writing heroes. I'm not going to say who because of just reasons. Didn't work out very well at the end. So I find out on the van trip. Okay, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. So we're going to northern Arizona, right? And he goes, and I go, so what's the town like? It's a Mormon community. I find this out in the van. Didn't find out before that. That was one of those like surprises dropped on my lap, right? Honestly, good people. Overall, really cool people. Jack Mormons are hilariously awesome. They are the absolute best. I don't know if you know what a Jack Mormon is, but if you don't, they believe in the Mormon faith, but they're a lot more like generalists, or like they let people be more themselves. They are some of the coolest people on the planet.
Cool.
The people that are really squeaky. So I'll give you this story. Like, this is just an example because some of the weird. So I was invited to play baseball. Okay, I was invited to play baseball with this Mormon group. So first off, there was no strike one. I let it go across the plate like strike two. It's like strike two. What happened to strike one? There is no strike one, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, fine. I guess I'm swinging at the next one, and I guess I'm going for it. Second pitch, I clink it like a foul ball. So the umpire is the Mormon pastor or preacher. I don't remember what the exact title is called. I just go, shit. Like,
Everyone was like, whoa.
yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, I'm who I am. Like I said, I believe in God, but I am certainly not a saint, right? I'm not necessarily going to go out of my way to run roughshod and rampage over people, but at the same time, a saint I am not, and nor do I try to be. I am just who I am. And I'm good with it, right? So yeah, right. So I wasn't allowed to play baseball after that. Just so
you got asked politely to stop. I see.
I wasn't very good at baseball anyway, so I didn't really feel that bad.
Baseball's hard.
Yes,
Yeah.
it can be. It's just like it was never my game. I just never really. It wasn't for me. I tried. What ruined me for baseball, I still remember. Like I remember, I used to play with this like kid, Oshawa, Ontario, so not too far from where you're at.
Yeah.
Right. Not too far. Far, but not
too far. Yeah.
Yeah, far, but not too far. So I'm in this town that has to go. So this kid would always come and play baseball, but he always wanted me to pitch. He would never let me swing with a bat. The most fun thing you can do in baseball is swing that bat. It's the most fun thing.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever anybody else tells you, I never was allowed to swing the damn bat. I think I developed a little mild hatred to baseball. Not like or prejudice. We'll say I had a prejudice. I think hatred might be a little strong.
That's fair.
But a mild prejudice to baseball, and that's the secret origin. Because this friend of mine, he always wanted to swing at the bat. He'd let me swing like once in a blue moon, but every other time,
you had to. Not.
Yeah, I was the pitcher, the catcher. It's like, yeah,
man.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah. But I mean, yeah, that's my thing. So you're not sure what you want exactly. Not yet.
Yeah.
But we are going to see short stories from you at some point.
Maybe yeah, some poems. I would say so.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. So obviously you're writing about. I think the big thing is trying to find your happiness. Is that reflective in your writing right now? Is finding that happiness kind of stuff?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, what makes me happy? What makes me myself? Mm-hmm. The novel that I'm working on is like it's not really an autobiography. It's more like have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
I used to be a GM for a game called Shadowrun. I don't know if you know what that game is,
I
but if you
do.
do,
Yes.
yeah, I stole science fiction novels and and I snuck them into Shadowrun universe. Roger's
Nice.
Alazi, I'm a big fan of, but anyway, I digress. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like writing a book is like being your own like GM, but for a self-contained self-insert, basically, and that's what I'm doing. I'm essentially just like writing a story about a person who's a lot like me, but is different, and yeah, I don't know, just trying to share like my experiences and stuff like that. I have also started a screenplay, funnily enough, because because I like my girlfriend and I we get along like extremely well. We're like each other's best friends, and one day we just started riffing a story, like a movie script, and it was just a joke at one point, but then it went on, and I was like, this, you know what, this is actually good. Let me get my laptop.
And the idea stuck in your brain. Now you got to do it. It's like
Yeah.
I got to fucking do this
Wait,
now.
hold on. Can you repeat
Yeah.
that?
So listen, when you swear at me, promise me you'll swear at me in Filipino, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Just swear at me in Filipino. The hardest two things about the film industry, just making a film, insurance. That's the part that that will drive you. That might legitimately drive you to drink a little bit, because that's not like actually the biggest budget. Limiting a budget for a movie is the insurance. Now, you can be creative about how you get the film made. Again, I'm not going to give you anything one way or the other, but maybe the first couple times you start really filming stuff, you might be a little you might have to think a little outside the box. I'm not saying anything, but you know, but that's number one. Number two, believe it or not, here's the thing about films. I think I like was the biggest surprise when I was film crew. How much actual industrial style work goes into a film sometimes, right? Building sets and stuff like that, right? So when you actually are on a film crew, like what you're doing is, okay, so you got all these scenes in this house, right? So they're not necessarily in order, but we're at this house today and tomorrow.
Mhm.
So we're going to build this up. Okay, take shot, take this shot, take this shot, tear it down. Okay, you got another like few bunch of shots in the house. Build this set up again. Da 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 da. Okay, film this shot. Film this shot. Film this shot. Da 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 da. There is almost like an industrial. I'm serious. Like that. I think that's what blows me away is that movie making is like the ultimate combination of warehousing and creativity.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the ultimate combination of both, because you're depending on what you do, you're going to be welding, you're going to be building different sets, you're going to be right, and obviously you'll work within whatever budget you have. You can do a decent 10-minute film on like $200. It is possible if you are a very proficient storyteller. Again, you will swear at me in Filipino. I know you will. The first couple times.
Yeah.
Because figuring out how to do that is definitely again, I'm making it sound easy. It is not.
No, it doesn't
But
sound easy, but yeah.
yeah, right. It is not.
Yeah.
But once you get the hang of, so I mean, that would be my advice. If you do decide to film the screenplay, like take 10 pages of it, see if you can film it. However you do it, just take 10.
Yeah.
If you can do that 10 pages,
Mhm.
and you're not swearing at me too much,
Yeah.
then you decide to do it down the road. Like honestly, like movies are an amazing art form. They are an incredible. They're almost magic in the sense that it's almost like meeting the right producer, director with the right actors with the right crew, and all working together to create this piece. It's an amazing thing when it's good. Now, when it's bad, you know it. Right?
Yeah.
You know it. You just know, right?
Yeah.
So, but when it's good, man, it might be one of the most magical things as a species we do is making a movie. It sounds maybe really corny as hell to say it like that.
No, I
but
mean, like, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a really nice thing. I mean, like, I don't know if you've seen Spider-Man No Way Home, but
Not yet. Not yet. I plan on it. Like I took after Endgame, I took a break from Marvel
that's
because it was
fair.
just like I saw like 20 movies. I needed to just like
Chill.
chill. Now, that all said, when I do get back into it, yeah. No, everybody tells me this, Maddie. I know this. I just needed like some time away because here's the absolute worst thing when you're not ready to see something and it's good, but you just it's one of those things it's one of those things where how do we put this?
You just
If
need
you're not
time.
ready to see it, you won't get the maximum enjoyment. I wanted to be sure that when I did finally see it,
Right.
I would be in a mood to enjoy it again, right?
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
yeah. No, I want to see both Spider-Man movies. Like they're both on my list to draw. Probably the first one I'll see in the theater again will be the Thor sequel because I really am.
Yeah, I
I'm
love
looking.
Thor Ragnarok. That was a really good one.
Well, I'm a big comic guy, so when Jane Foster became Thor in the comic, a lot of that is going to be based on the next Thor movie.
Sweet. I'm excited.
Yes, yeah. So I don't know if you're a comic book junkie at all, but if you are, right? If you are, like, it'll be like that'll be probably the first film I go back to the that'll be the first film when I go back to the theaters. That will be the first one I see because that's the one that I'm like, yeah, I'm in. I'm
Right.
in, right? But at some point, I'm going to say June because at that point my shit will hopefully be together. We'll see, right? But when my shit's together, I'll be like, okay, I can finally watch some movies again, and I'll be like, what's at the top of my list? Probably the Spider-Man because everybody and their mother says they're good. So
It is. Yep.
yes. Yeah.
I mean, that is one of the movies that I think that everything came together really perfectly, and everyone who has a stake in Spider-Man or Marvel, everyone in the theater, there's always video reactions of folks in the theater watching the movie, and everyone going, "Wow!" And I just thought that was one of the best things about the movie.
Yeah. No. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. I solemnly swear I will watch Spider-Man No Way Home.
Okay,
Right. No,
good. Yeah.
yeah. I solemnly swear I will be up to no good. Mr. Adrian, I
Hmm.
think I think we have an interview here. What do you think?
I think so too.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah,
have fun?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So normally I would ask what to promote. Actually, we'll do this before you promote the myconsultant.ca show, which
Okay.
I'll send the link for. This is what I want to say to you personally.
Sure.
I wish we'd have had more time to work together. I really
Mhm.
do. I think we'd have had a blast. I wish you absolutely the best of luck going forward with the show. I also, like I said, I meant what I said. You have an amazing personality. Let that shine through on camera as much as you do off camera, and it will be. You will make you will surpass me, and because again, I just there are tears in my eyes. No, I think you will like when you let that out in all seriousness. Um, the show will become something completely yours first off, but it will become something I think a little bit better, honestly, because the one thing our shit's dry on the show, you know that sometimes, like
Can be.
really, 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 yeah, it can be really dry sometimes.
Mhm.
I think you have an ability where even I don't, where you can actually make it sound fun, right? I think you have that ability.
Thanks.
Yeah, I tried sometimes, but it's like sometimes like, oh god, yeah,
Yeah.
but at the same token, yeah, I think you're gonna do great, and I wish you nothing but the best and good luck.
Thank
So,
you.
when's the next episode drop?
Next episode drop is this Thursday, and then we're still kind of going with the other format, but
Yep.
yeah, yeah, every Thursday, myconsultant.ca releases a show on YouTube, and Sarah's on it, and I'm on it. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah,
Does everybody want to watch? Listen. Yeah. Yes.
yeah.
That is and is there anything else that you're working on that's coming out like a performance, a show, another like anything like that you want to advertise?
Ooh, hmm. There is a show coming up. I'm not sure what day exactly, but if folks want to see, you can follow me on Instagram and stuff. I'm at King Feminist. um
King feminist?
yeah.
Did I hear that?
And that's where like all of my
Did I get that
updates are
right?
going to be. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're at the end of the show, we should pimp your stuff, right? So yeah, I
That's true.
mean, we should, right? So I mean, the second question is how to find you. So this is how you find you. Do you have a webpage?
I don't, but I should. You're right. I
Yeah,
should have a webpage.
probably.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I totally get it. Well, before you wrap up and go, let me promote my stuff because I'm a trained professional and shit. So, because I've been doing this show for plenty of times. So I'm just going to do this right now, ladies and gentlemen. If you've been here before, you know what I'm about to say. This is my latest book release, ladies and gentlemen. It's poetry. It's Alice in Wonderland as Greek mythology mashed together. Alice is Pandora. Alice chases the Queen of Hearts over the edge of the world and ends up in the Greek underworld, where to escape, she must play croquet against Jason of the Argonauts. And along this journey, Alice and company encounter gods, monsters. Well, thank you, Maddie. It is. I'm glad you feel that way, right? Encounter gods, monsters, and themselves. It's written by yours truly, right? It's written by yours truly, illustrated by Kenzie Carr. It is available now on Amazon. And that will do it for today's episode of Just Justin. So we got 2 back-to-back drink and draws coming up for the next 2 days. So early morning tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, Manrick of Gray, Poet Extraordinaire, returns. We're drawing stuff on the air. And Friday, speaking of Madeline Dale herself will come on as well to do her version of Drink and Draw. We're going to have a really good time doing that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be drawing for my next release, Lights Out, which I'm writing and drawing, which is kind of scaring the shit out of me, but that's another story for another day. Yeah, that's another story for another day. We'll talk a little bit more after here before you go, Adrian. But for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark, right? And thank you, Maddie, for coming on my show. To everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you. Have yourself a great day.
Bye.